Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully you're all having as good of a Monday as you can have. Let's see what we have here in the chat today. We have Logan, we have WX Rockets, as well as, let's see, Little Dude Plays Gaming rather, and Caleb in here. And also Box as well. Also, Box, by the way, I wouldn't add this till the days of Models Botched It, because the HRRR had, I was looking at it with one of my friends last night in a VC. The HRRR actually had 120 to 130 mile an hour winds this morning, and I just disregarded it because I thought it was crazy. But the HRRR consistently nailed this morning's event. Let's see, we also have Meteorologist Winters in here as well. And everyone else in the chat who I may have forgotten to welcome, and you are chatting, or those who are just watching and not chatting, welcome to the stream. Let's go and switch on over. Hopefully everything is good, loaded up there. There we go. Did we lose that? Okay, we did lose that tornado warning. Our only tornado warning just expired. So, yeah, this is probably going to be another briefing. I don't think today is worth a multi-hour coverage like I was anticipating 2 days ago. But we still do have some strong tornado potential today, and I wouldn't rule out a random EF3 intense tornado being possible either. And I'll go over that very conditional risk for an intense tornado threat today. But you could see this is the background loop here of that MCS that rolled through South Dakota, Minnesota earlier this morning. Currently a civil emergency in place across central South Dakota. I'll show you that in just a moment. But that MCS had recorded wind speeds of 131 miles per hour. So that actually makes it the second highest damaging wind gust ever recorded from a thunderstorm in U.S. history. So very, very, very significant MCS from earlier this morning. Right about 7:40-ish a.m., 7:30, 7:40, we'll be able to take a look at it. So, yeah, hold on just a moment. It was Hyde County, South Dakota, apparently is the county with that civil emergency. And I don't think this will be classified as a derecho because I'm pretty sure it was too small, but it definitely traveled the length. I mean, this thing's gone from right on the border of Nebraska, South Dakota, all the way up to the border of Minnesota and Canada, where it is still ongoing right now, although a lot weaker, but it is a lot more widespread, a much larger swath now of 50 to 60 mile an hour winds instead of a concentrated area of 60 to 130 mile an hour winds. But we do have a little severe watch left there for the next hour, 40 minutes. I do expect a new tornado watch to be issued in this area as well later on in the day. That probably will be pretty close to the same probability as this tornado watch out here in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. But I do expect another tornado watch later today, and we do have some severe storms popping off here. And the good news is here, we're very lucky. We're very lucky. And I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into why we're very lucky right now. Let's go over to our model data. And I just want to show you here. So your most favorable environment is right in this vicinity. And our trough is a little bit too slow. And so instead of storms firing in that very favorable environment, they're actually firing on a little convergence area well out in front of the primary low pressure and well removed from the primary trough. So that results in a much lower tornado threat. Now, we can't rule out a brief tornado or two, maybe one strong, right along that convergence signature in central North Dakota, as well as 60 to 70 mile an hour winds and 1 to 2 inch hail will all be possible in that small corridor there throughout today. Really from that circle's really, really good. Maybe just a little bit further to the southeast. That's where our primary all hazards threat will be today. But we have a secondary, more conditional area. Now, I do think we'll see 60 mile an hour winds, a few brief spin-up tornadoes, and also 1 to 2 inch hail. But the strong tornado threat is a bit more conditional on this side. However, it's a higher ceiling. So basically what I'm saying is there's a better chance for a strong tornado in this circle. However, there's a better chance for a higher end tornado, like I said, an EF3 tornado in this area. However, it's more conditional. So if a tornado does form in this area, there's a chance it could be EF2. And if a tornado does form in this area, most likely it's going to be very weak and brief. But there's that small chance that we get a supercell discrete enough to produce an EF3 possibly tornado. And I'll show you that right here. If we just back this up, this is right on that warm front would be the corridor to watch the most, and that's about 8 o'clock tonight. That would be your best opportunity, most likely, for a EF2 plus tornado. And notice it's right on that warm front, right in that most favorable environment. But the big question is, do storms even fire along that warm front as they're discrete, or do they fire more messy? Because you could see the HRRR keeps much of that very, very volatile environment very sloppy because you don't have very organized forcing. It's not a particularly well-forced environment. And then you also have some capping issues and more issues as well that keeps these storms more miniature. So I think there will be a brief window today for strong to intense tornado potential, but I'm a lot less interested in today than what I was literally just 24 hours ago. And it's all because our trough is just 3 hours. Just 3 hours too slow. That's all it takes for today to be a lower end day. This is 21Z. And if our trough was literally just 3 hours quicker here, we would probably be talking about a tornado outbreak today, and maybe even a major tornado outbreak being possible, because that's where you would have your better defluence would be focused right over that primary warm front, cold front area in Minnesota. And still, even with the trough being late, that's why you could see this is 8 p.m., by the way. That's why at 8 p.m. I think we have the best chance for a strong tornado. Because that's going to be where our trough is the strongest and just barely overlapping with that warm front and that very favorable corridor. So there's just going to be, I mean, we're talking about a 1 to 2 hour window here. Like we're talking about from 7:30 to 8:30, 7:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern. It is a very small window where storms could fire on that warm front. And if they do, could produce strong to intense tornadoes. But it's so conditional that the SPC has just maintained a slight risk today for overall tornado potential. But you can see they do have that 5 sig 1 and even a 2% sig 1 stretching into, right where that warm front's going to be, just north of Alexandria in Minnesota. And then also something that's being overlooked is we actually got an upgrade to a 5% tomorrow. I didn't notice that till just before starting the stream. We have another 5% tornado risk up in Vermont and New York tomorrow. I feel like this is like the 3rd or 4th one for you guys. It's been a pretty active severe weather and tornado season up there in the Northeast. But that one's being a little bit overlooked. But yeah, we are under a enhanced risk today. It's the tiniest little enhanced risk in the last couple of days here. We've got just the small enhanced risk for severe weather. However, spoiler alert, that will be removed in 30 minutes. So we will be downgraded back to a slight risk in 30 minutes. Unless the SPC sees it fit to upgrade to an enhanced risk for another area. But that enhanced risk is for this morning's damaging wind event that is now coming to conclusion. At this point, you could see that primary risk moving off to the northeast, starting to move into Canada now. Let's see here. Welcome, Tracy. Glad to see you in here. Jordan as well. Sports. Glad to see you as well. Critty. And again, Rockets and everyone else in the stream. Sorry, I haven't been able to welcome everybody. A lot of people in here today. And I also want to talk about the severe weather quick. Especially this part here, too. Let's see. Let's go back a little bit further here before I forget to show you guys this MCS. So, yeah, even further than that, gracious day. So you can see this MCS really started around Martin in south central South Dakota with 80-mile-an-hour winds right there. Started to progress up to the northeast, and then this is when it began to peak. Right in here was the hardest hit area. This was the hardest hit area right here. And this county, this is the county under that civil emergency. That county right there, that includes Highmore. So if you just pull this out further, you can see this. There's your 110-mile-an-hour wind report, 112. Okay, well, 11.8 mile per hour wind report there, rounded up to 12 at 6:48 a.m. And then here comes that historic second highest ever measured wind gust from a thunderstorm in U.S. history here, and that comes at 7:15 a.m. Eastern time from a weather station. And if I'm not mistaken, we get a second one as well right there. 131 mile per hour winds, the exact same mile per hour about 10 minutes later, just off to the northeast, almost in downtown Highmore in South Dakota earlier today. And again, that is in Eastern. Progresses off to the northeast. It does weaken slightly, but still produces 70 to 80 mile an hour winds as it moves towards Rockham and around that vicinity. Then this is when it starts to weaken pretty well. Still 80 mile an hour winds near Redfield, but 60 mile an hour winds, 60 mile an hour winds. Some reports here of maybe a tornado around the Pier Point area, South Dakota, earlier, 9:13 a.m. And then I believe we didn't get anything greater than 70 miles per hour from this point. There's 70 mile an hour winds right there. There's 60, and I don't think it was any higher than that. I think from here on out, it just started producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. We didn't end up with another 80 mile per hour wind report. Yep, none there. Although I will say, if we switch to velocity, there was a little moment here. Yeah, right here, west-southwest of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, where it does seem like it could have produced 70 to 80 mile an hour winds, just maybe no confirmed reports there, but that was a very significant signature on radar. And then look at the velocity for our MCS down here. Watch this. Definitely one of the most impressive velocity signatures I've seen in a very long time from a MCS. This is the dead wrong radar site, is it not? I believe it's going to be a different radar site. Let's see. Got to make sure I pull up the right one. Which one was it? There was one of these that had... I feel like this isn't it. Oh, yeah. Never mind, it is. And what was impressive about this, it wasn't necessarily the velocity colors, because we do see those quite frequently, but you could see it was measuring 100. This is one of those instances where it actually was underdone. 113 mile an hour winds measured pretty far up, like 15,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And normally towards the surface, we'd say like that could be closer to 80, or it could even be corruption. But in this case, it was actually producing 131 mile an hour winds, actually higher than the velocity color table. And then again, what was most impressive about this was simply just how long it lasted with that dark blue. I mean, you're talking about from just to the west of Fort Thompson here, like right in that vicinity, all the way up until just west of Redfield. So that's a very, very, very long duration period where it was producing 80 to 131 mile an hour winds there. I mean, you're talking about an 85-mile stretch of 80-plus mile an hour winds and winds up to 131 miles per hour. So that's what I found very impressive with this. We don't see that too often. It's not extraordinarily rare in this case, but it's definitely not something we see often. Of course, what is extraordinarily rare is the 131 mile an hour wind report, once more being the second highest wind report ever recorded in the history of the U.S. from a thunderstorm. And I also want to show you something else that happened earlier this morning. If I could go ahead and pull it up from the NWS on Twitter here. Let's see. Storm Prediction Center. 7 hours ago. So this was issued at 7:42 a.m. Eastern Time. This was a historic mesoscale discussion. Extreme winds possible recently measured at 100 to 130 miles per hour. Peak probable wind gusts exceeding 110 miles per hour. And peak probable wind speeds roughly 110 miles per hour. This is the first time the SPC has ever issued a max probability wind gust MCD. They have never issued a mesoscale discussion with that high of wind probabilities. So that's the first one that we have ever seen for that high of wind probabilities. And guess what? It occurred in a marginal. That's right. This was in a marginal risk this morning, and then they upgraded it rapidly. They went from marginal to 30 sig 2. 30 sig 2. Imagine waking up to that. Imagine waking up and you're in a 5% wind risk, and then 30 minutes later, they jump you up to a 30% sig 2. Like, that's crazy. That is very crazy. Would this verify as a high? Most likely not. Most likely not. I don't believe so. This probably verified as a enhanced risk, believe it or not. Probably verified as an enhanced sig 3, if that's a thing. A sig 3 wind risk. I'm not sure if that's a thing. Let's go check. But if that is a thing, that's what it would have verified as. Let's see. Wind. Okay, so that's not a thing. Not a thing. So you can see sig 3 is introduced at 45%, and it instantly jumps to high. So if you go from 30% sig 2 to 45% sig 3, you go from enhanced to high. So yeah, I think it verified as probably a 30% sig 2 in this case, which was exactly what the Storm Prediction Center pulled. And you may be saying, why? Why only a sig 2? Well, the main reason is high-risk verification. To be honest with you, this many reports in this straight of a line, I don't believe would have verified as a high risk. I don't think this would have verified as a 45% probability wind risk. It's too narrow of a corridor, and it was not very widespread. So even though the wind gusts were very well worth a high risk for severe weather in terms of peak probable wind speeds, just the reports are definitely, in my opinion, not going to verify a high risk. I mean, could you imagine that? Imagine if they pulled a high risk and we got 54 wind reports. Yeah, we've had wind reports exceeding 600 in a moderate risk earlier this year. And you're telling me you want to argue high risk verification for 54 wind reports? That's why I think the SPC pulling a 30% sig 2 was actually the correct call. Even though it seems like it should have been higher. We've got a new considerable severe for 1.75-inch hail out here in Flasher. So make sure you guys are away from doors and windows and close to your safe spot there in North Dakota, Flasher, North Dakota, southwest of Bismarck. You don't have to be in your safe spot, but I say be close to your safe spot because you don't exactly want to be near a window or a door when you have 1.75-inch hail flying through your windows at 60 miles per hour. So that's why when these considerable severes are issued, I say stay close to your safe spot or maybe even go to your safe spot. Definitely, at minimum, stay away from doors and windows. It wasn't easily forecasted because it seemed like models were overdoing it. But then again, it was pretty easy to see. The HRRR had it for hours, literally hours. Look at that. This is the entire, I can't even loop it anymore. From 06Z all the way to 11Z, this thing consistently had, it's just off your screen there. There you go. This thing consistently had a wind bag of 110 plus mile an hour winds. And like I said yesterday, I was on call with one of my friends, and it had 120 mile an hour winds, and we just disregarded it because we thought it was just the HRRR being the HRRR. So if I don't know if I can find that again, but there's one where it had 90. I forgot what run it was. I feel like maybe it was 00Z. Here's 00Z. The placement is wrong, but you could still see it had 112 mile an hour winds. Oh, there you go. There you go. This is 00Z. That placement is actually very, very good. And that had 103, was it? 101 mile an hour wind. So you can see that the HRRR was definitely hinting at a very significant wind bag. Of course, not one of 131 mile per hour proportions, because that's very rare to see on a model run. I can't... Oh, 122! This is the 00Z from last night. So this would be about a 10-hour heads up. And that has 122. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Take a screenshot of that right there. So you can't tell me that this wasn't, you know, forecasted at least somewhat. Look at that. 128. 128. I just saw that pixel. There. Oh, come on. Come on. 130. Did you see that? Just for a second, it had 130. So you can't tell me that this wasn't on our model runs. There's a pixel of 130 in there. Y'all saw that, right? It was for just a little frame. I saw it again. Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it. But, yeah, the HRRR nailed it. It literally nailed it. 10 hours in advance. And almost in the exact area where it occurred. There you go. Perfect. There you go. That's crazy. I don't know if the HRRR has done that good this entire year. It was off by a whole 0.9 miles per hour. And is that not like right? Yeah, that's right over it. That's literally the exact county that it occurred in. That is the exact county where it occurred in, too. The exact county and only like 0.9 miles per hour too low. That's wild. But of course, like I said, yesterday I was thinking, yeah, that's just the HRRR being the HRRR. I didn't believe it for a second. Who would? How bad the HRRR has been. Let's see here. So this is for tomorrow, and this is a new HRRR. It's just going to be a small window where we could see a brief tornado or two. I don't really know if it's worth a 5% tour risk, but the SPC put it out. But I just wouldn't rule out a brief tornado or two up here. The main hazard is definitely 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, for sure. But embedded inside of that, I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado or two and also 1-inch hail. And then another area, kind of a secondary area I would watch is this little corridor here. The Panhandle Peninsula, whichever one it's called here in Michigan. NATOcast, I believe, has it's either NATOcast or CSU, one or the other, has a 5% tornado risk up here. And I agree with that. I do think we could see a brief tornado or two, maybe even a strong tornado tomorrow in just that small little area tomorrow afternoon and evening. Now, I can tell you I'm not going to be covering that. I don't think... There's a very small chance I'll be live tomorrow, but I don't think I will. I'm not sure when I'm going to have the next live stream. I'm busy. Tomorrow I'll be busy. I might have a small window where I could stream. Wednesday I know I'll be busy. Thursday I know for sure I'll be busy. And much of Friday as well. So hopefully I'll be able to stream one of those days, but I'm not going to guarantee it. Did I see the Canada tornado yesterday? Of course. Yep. I 100% did. I got a screenshot of that for those who missed it. I thought that was going to pull up on my other monitor. It just gave me a heart attack. This was it yesterday. This was the screenshot I took. There you go. Thing had a classic Supercell look to it, and a big reflectivity debris ball right there. Very impressive. Probably the second most impressive Supercell I've seen in Canada. And then here is radar scope. You can see there's a radar scope debris ball. Velocity couplet, oddly weak. Your differential reflectivity, also known as ZDR, drop right there. And then CC was just all over the place, but it was right there. You still had CC present. And that is a reflectivity debris ball. The main reason why I say that, even with the kind of corrupted CC and poor radar that we have in Canada, there was multiple reports of a large wedge tornado ongoing, so know for a fact that that was a debris ball. I didn't see any significant damage from that, but then again, I'm not very aware and part of the Canada weather community, so I probably didn't get, many of those photos and damage photos and videos on my feeds. Another thing I just remembered I want to mention real quick. If we go to the GFS, we're really not in a good setup for tornadoes. There's the conditional strong tornado risk today and tomorrow, and a very conditional intense tornado threat today. But we're not really in a good pattern for widespread tornado outbreaks. I do think we're going to see at least a tornado or two, another tornado or two later today, and at least one strong later on today. And tomorrow, I do think we'll see a tornado or two, maybe one strong, whether it be in New York or in the Panhandle or whatever it may be of Michigan. And then we're going to move into July. Wednesday is the first day of July, and that's when all of our torr potential really goes out the window. Of course, we'll have some torr potential on Wednesday, but that's probably going to be in Minnesota, Wisconsin. But it's not going to be very, very favorable for a good tornado threat. They're going to be conditional tornado risks. And same with the wind threats. We're going to be in a very, very favorable pattern for wind threats, man. If you live anywhere really in the central and eastern U.S., we're going to be in a very, very favorable pattern for damaging winds, especially if you live up in the Midwest into the Mid-Atlantic. My pen decided to bug on me when I opened up those screenshots, so I'm trying to reset it here. So this will be the main corridor for severe weather, discluding today, the main corridor for severe weather is going to be right in this vicinity in here. That's going to be the primary corridor for damaging winds, tornadoes, and some hail. Again, the torr threat's going to be more conditional, and the torr threat should be highest with any of these days up in this vicinity here, where the wind shear will be greatest with that trough that pulls through. If we rewind here, pulls through on Wednesday, maybe a little bit of Thursday as well. But yeah, it's thunderstorms, man. It's summer. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna have a bunch of storms that randomly pop up. We literally could get a derecho out of thin air. Like, literally. The smallest storm could just form out of thin air and become a derecho with all the cape and moisture and ingredients that we have. So that's exactly what happened earlier this morning and late last night. Not saying it was a derecho, but generally the same ordeal. We could just see storms pop out of thin air and become huge windbags. And same for the torr threat. We could get a random storm that pops out in the warm front today across Minnesota, or in the warm front tomorrow in the peninsula of Michigan, and produce a strong or intense tornado. If Saturday is a 10% Sig 1, then today should be a 10% Sig 1 too. That definitely did not perform. It definitely did not perform. The newer NATOcast had a 5%, a small 5% on that day, and that was more accurate than the other version of NATOcast that had the 10 Sig 1, or the 10 Sig. Let's see what it has for today. So the 2024 variant, typically the most accurate. This is the 2022 variant. I want the 2024 variant of NATOcast. It's going to be at the bottom. Right there. Okay, it has a 10% today. 2024 version has a 10% torr risk today, right on that warm front. So definitely hinting towards some pretty good warm front tornado potential there from NATOcast. And then what about tomorrow? It has a 3% in the peninsula of Michigan and a 3% in New York. Those are the two areas I mentioned. It has a random 2% in Kansas tomorrow. What does that look like? Let's see here. That's probably going to be tornado of the year. No, just a little conditional area for maybe some land spouts. Maybe a land spout or two possible southwest Kansas tomorrow around 7 o'clock or just before. But yeah, there's your new or your most accurate NATOcast, typically 12Z 2024 model run. So I think that highest tornado potential, I do agree with that. Even though it is conditional, I do think we'll at least see a few tornadoes most week, but I wouldn't rule out a strong torr or two, maybe even an intense one if we can really get a good supercell going on that warm front around sunset. Sweet, Pete. I don't even have my own birthday in my calendar. Hello, Haley. Glad to see you back in here. Yeah, so these storms, I don't really particularly think today is going to be that impressive with any storms. The only big area I'll be watching is right on that warm front. That's going to be the big area I'm going to be watching towards sunset. So if I go live again tonight, that's going to be what it's for. That's an if, too. Like I said, I don't know if I will be able to. I'm going to be getting very, very busy again. I'm telling you, man, I get very swamped in June and July. This year, I have been extremely busy. More busy than normal, though. Caleb. I was playing it with a friend over here. You joined me in like 3 different games. What was I doing during that? I think I was just AFK on that, and I believe I was either I was looking at model runs or I was looking at the tornado in Canada. One or the other. Why do we all have birthdays in late June? My family does too. There we have. Actually, we're about to get another birthday in July as well. So we're gonna have, if you count June and July, I think we have like 4 family members. I think 5 or 6 family members with birthdays in June and July. I think 5, soon to be 6, if I can remember birthdays correctly. It's a lot of birthdays to keep up with. Yeah, I'm feeling better. I still have a scratchy throat. This sickness, it's about 3-week recovery time, apparently. But I did a bunch of yard work today, so I'm probably agitated all my allergies and the cold again. Today was the last good day to do yard work, so the entire like 5 hours this morning I was contemplating doing a bunch of yard work, kind of off and on with it. Because we have at least some thin cloud cover and it's mid 80s. And then from here on out, I mean, we're going to be in the 90s tomorrow, and then we're going to soar up. 90s tomorrow, mid 90s Wednesday, and then 100s on Thursday and maybe Friday as well. There's Friday. So only going to get worse from here. Today, like I said, mid 80s. Tomorrow, low 90s. Wednesday, mid 90s to upper 90s. And Thursday, 100s. Friday, probably going to be the hottest day. And then Saturday, things start to cool down as we go down by a whole 2 degrees. area of interest off the southeast. I'm not really too concerned about it. It's just an area of interest, 10% chance of tropical development there. If we just go zoom out here, if I can get to the right products without making myself sick. It looks like it should just stay mainly out to sea. It might recurve and bring a bit of rain back to Florida, but I don't think it's going to be any problem. I don't think it will be any problems. And then I heard a lot about snow up here in Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah. I believe Wyoming was where I heard about it the most. Yeah, snow in summer. If we take a look here at total accumulation depth, according to the GFS, we do have some accumulation up here in Montana, about half a foot of snow there. So, whilst we're dealing with 110 temps over here in Virginia and North Carolina, Idaho's dealing with 20s. That's how big the U.S. is. Part of the country's in a historic heat wave and other parts in snow. A giant country, man. You really find that out when you try to storm chase and it takes you 16 hours to get to your target area. We don't have any heat advisories out for anywhere in Virginia or North Carolina at the moment. Oh, my bad. Actually, there is a singular two counties. These two counties in far southwest North Carolina are in a heat advisory. Other than those two, no other counties in NC or Virginia. So I think we'll see those heat advisories stretch up into much of Virginia and NC, though. How? I really don't know how. Honestly, I guess it might be a little bit too far out. So, I mean, if they're not out tomorrow, I'll be shocked. Probably going to get a brief tropical storm or depression in the eastern Pacific in the next 7 days as well. So there's a lot of weather to track, a lot of stuff to keep an eye on, but none of it is extreme. Other than the random MCS this morning, none of it is like very, very extreme. We're just gonna get a couple wind bags over the next few days, 60 to 80-mile-an-hour winds, a few tornadoes, maybe 1 or 2 strong today and tomorrow, and then some hail, 1 to 2 inches in diameter, maybe up to 3-inch in diameter for today, particularly. But anything greater than that, like the intense tornado threat, very conditional today, and I don't really think we're going to see much of an intense tornado threat for the next few months, hopefully, fingers crossed. And tropics should stay relatively dead in the Atlantic side of things. Just for a major typhoon in the Pacific. I saw that on my feed. Somebody made a video on that. I saw that on my YouTube feed. What's up over there? Is it going to be heading towards land? I'll cover it. We've covered typhoons before. Let's see. At the moment, I see squat nothing. Ain't nothing out there. Let's go to Tropical Tidbits. Let's go to Western Pacific. Holy crap. Somehow, someway, that's going to trend into a nothing burger. Holy cow, a 913 millibar on the euro. I'm sorry, did I see that right? Okay, no, I didn't. That's crazy. Is the JTWC not even put out an advisory for that yet? Because I just looked and it didn't look like they had any advisories going yet. Lord have mercy, there's your hurricane models. 927. It's your HAFSA, the only model we have on this at the moment. Only hurricane model we have. I'll be able to cover that too. Saturday, July. Well, that's July 4th. Actually, maybe not. Shoot. There's actually a chance I'm not live again until like the 5th. Hey, week-long vacation for me. I don't know. I should be live once or twice. I hope. I'm swamped because I just thought of it. Even towards the end of next week, I have something next week too. Just don't get sick again. I better not. That's the good thing about this sickness. This sickness came for the 2 weeks of mid-June where I had nothing going on. Early June, swamped. Mid-June, nothing. Late June, everything. And early July, everything. So from like June 25th to July 10th, something like that, I'm swamped. And the sickness came from like June 15th or 16th all the way till still have a little bit of it. Nice 2 weeks, going on 2 weeks. I hope I don't get sick again. That was a horrible sickness for 2 days, and it's also horrible because it lasts for so long. Don't even know what it was. Melissa was a different breed of hurricane. Yeah, that was. That was a very different breed of hurricane. Thank goodness I wasn't on vacation for that. I was on vacation for Milton, but not Melissa. It's the M's. Milton, Melissa, Matthew. Sneeze. We haven't had much rain here, so I don't know why my allergies aren't actually worse. Got some stalling storms west of me. I saw those fire when I was outside earlier, and I'm going to go back outside here after stream. Thank you, Haley. Closest thing to a hypercane. Yep. What was it? Like freaking like 890 something millibar? And then 190 sustained? I forgot what the official advisory was. I have a screenshot of it somewhere. I think the official advisory was like 893, 185 or something. I forgot already. I have a screenshot of it. I'm going to go look back at the screenshot. Okay. Oh, you know what? I cleaned out my I cleaned out my screenshots at the beginning of the year, so I actually don't. I actually don't have a screenshot of it. I have it saved somewhere in one of these messages, but I don't have it saved on this computer. I have screenshots from the hurricane, though. Look at this. This was, holy cow, that's crazy. October 27th, this screenshot was taken. Look at this. This is in October. This is the most classic hurricane I've seen in my life. It literally has the hurricane symbol inside of the eye. It is the most classic hurricane I've seen in my life. I forgot how classic that thing is. Oh my word. Yeah, and I have a screenshot of someone on Twitter who follows me. And he said, I'm not even sold on Melissa becoming a major hurricane anymore on October 23rd, 2025. And on October 27th, 5 days later, 4 or 5 days later, this is what it looked like. It's Cat 5. It looked better before? No, it didn't. This is as good as it ever looked, dude. You've got an S-tier symmetrical hurricane with literally the hurricane symbol in it. I've never seen a hurricane with the hurricane symbol in the eye. 190, 892. I think I said 185, 893. I was off. And that went right into, was it Jamaica? I believe it was Jamaica. Wild. Very, very crazy, man. And remember, it like stalled for like 16 some hours. You know what? Here's the good thing about tweeting. You have a full archive of tweets. So I can go look and see what I tweeted before. Yep, here's one. This was from College Dew page in the eye wall. 150 lightning strikes in 10 minutes. Absolutely crazy. I can't really... I wish I could pop this out without showing all the side... tornado warning.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
Okay. Well, let's go take a look at that. Get rid of this. Go over here. Hold on, I'm getting lit up on notifications over here. There we go. Let's go see that. Oh, hey, it's the storm I pointed out. I pointed this out, though, for hail potential, not tor potential. God's greatest tornado warning right here. What the heck? There's barely even convergence here. Like, this is straight. These winds are straight. That's not really a convergence signature. When winds are converging, that means they're going towards each other. They're getting closer. So that would be like if the reds are starting to wrap around this way and the greens are starting to wrap around this way. That'd be a broad convergent signature, which there's maybe a little bit of that in here. Maybe a little bit of that. You could see it's a little bit more slanted. And then down here, it's a little bit more straight. So where it's a little bit more slanted, could be a very weak convergent signature. But like I said, that's greatest tor warning right there I've ever seen. Totally. Oh, new SBC outlook should drop here shortly. See if they've re-upgraded to enhanced. I don't know. Because what we have is we have the enhanced risk here. They're going to get rid of that enhanced risk on the next update. But the thing is, they might add a enhanced risk in this similar area for tornado potential later today. Because this enhanced risk was for the morning MCS. Yeah, but get to your safe spot if you're in that tornado warning. That's heading towards Bismarck, North Dakota. Just get to your safe spot. I don't really see a great tornado threat with this. But either way, get to your safe spot, because if there's not a tornado, there's 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1.75-inch hail. So you should get to your safe spot. Again, not only because of the hail potential, but also because of the tornado potential with that. But once more, if you're like worried about this producing a huge tornado, I wouldn't be concerned about that. It's a very weak area of convergence, which convergence happens before a tornado. You need convergence for a tornado. And again, you can see those winds are trying to converge on the northern side here, like right in that vicinity. But that's not where a tornado would form. If a tornado would form on this storm, you know, you look towards the south, towards the boundary. That's where your tornado would most likely occur. But your convergence looks to be the best up here. So it's weird. It's like your only okay area of rotation is very much removed from where you would think it should be. I want to go take a look at mesoanalysis real quick just to see. Oh, wow. That is a significantly more favorable environment. However, watch this. Watch this. We're going to go to 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, and I guarantee there's only going to be like 50 to 100 in North Dakota. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, not actually horrible. Most of it is 50 to 100. You can see you have a small pocket here of 150, and then a small pocket over here of 150. Small one there, and a small one up here, but much of it is 50 to 100. And look at that. There's no lower level rotation, no lower level spin out here. And guess what that's going to result in? If we could get a hodograph, I'm sure, yeah, it looks pretty bad. Except for, it's definitely more of a mini supercell photograph. That's screaming mini supercell. So let's go to, you said 3 Cape. So that's going to be, where's that at? Not that. This. Yeah, it's not bad. Really, the only the hot spot's right over that storm, so that's why it's trying to rotate. You do have some vorticity in 3 Cape. And you may be saying, well, why is there vorticity? Well, if you look closely, I can actually kind of see a low pressure in here. Look at these winds. It looks like there is a weak low pressure somewhere right in here. Because you can see these winds are streaming up and over like this. And then they're backed from the north over here, and then the southwest, and then the west here. So there's some spin in that vicinity, and that's why if you go back to that product, much of that vorticity is limited to the greatest vorticity of 8 to 10 is right in here. So it's pretty much on that low pressure. It's like on top of that low pressure. So I wouldn't rule out a land spout with this. I wouldn't rule out a land spout with this at all. And you're actually very, very nice. Look at this, 79 and 71. Very nice temperature dew points out here. Plenty of Cape. You're right in the right exit region of your trough. However, I do think there's a lack of lower level jet. Yep, your main lower level jet in front and also behind the trough. You can see once we go to about 6 hours in advance, that's when your main lower level jet starts kicking in. Which by then it should start being a little bit too late. There's going to be that tiny little window where the trough is starting to arrive and storms are starting to turn sloppy. That's going to be between like 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern for the greatest tor threat. Right along that warm front in west central Minnesota. Wouldn't be surprised if this gets tornado warned either. Wouldn't shock me. Oh, I missed your super chat. My bad. Let me go up to that. $5 super chat. Thank you for the $5, Weather Warrior. Appreciate it. A confirmed second strongest wind gust ever observed in a storm. 131 this morning in Highmore, South Dakota. Yep. We actually had 2 reports of 131 off of that storm as well. I do want to go look at satellite. Yeah, we have a, we've had and are still having a huge wildfire outbreak out here in the Four Corners. You see, especially in Colorado and Arizona. Almost forgot about Arizona. And Utah as well. These can get a little confusing here for your U.S. states. So you got Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. Just had to point them out for myself real quick, just so I could remember them. I know these have been very bad wildfires as well. What are we at for today? Wow, only an elevated. Tomorrow is critical, only elevated today. Yeah, you can see that convergence is trying to increase a little bit more. However, I think this is going to help it go more outflow dominant because your red isn't very strong. So what happens is your inflow gets so strong that it bows out and pushes the inflow away from the storm. Sometimes that can create a tornado threat on the northern edge of it. So this is turning outflow dominant, but I wouldn't rule out a tornado on that northern edge where as those winds are surging forward towards Bismarck, the inflow is being forced up and around. So watch for book and vortex action on that northern edge. And it looks like that's what's trying to happen here. On that newest radar frame, you could see a little bit more curvature up in here. So what's happening is it's turning outflow dominant. These winds are surging forward, and that's forcing inflow up and around like this. And so you're getting a little indent right up there. Not great rotation on velocity, but you could see those wind gusts are higher, upwards of 60 miles per hour in here. And if you could get those reds to just force around a little bit more, you definitely could get a strong torque thread out of this. However, I'll keep an eye on it and monitor it, but I have to go do some stuff. I just wanted to get on here and update you guys on the severe potential today and over the next few days, and do a little update on the MCS earlier today. I may come back later tonight. We'll see if things really start kicking off, and I'll pay attention to the weather so that way I don't miss too much. Thank you, Weather Warrior, for the $2 donation and the $5 donation. Appreciate it. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat, and everybody for being here. It's greatly appreciated. And not too sure when the next live stream will be, so stay close to the community posts and also the live stream tab on this channel, because I'm not 100% sure when I will be live next. Okay, real quick, we did get a new SPC outlook. So the SPC was a bit late. And they did upgrade to re-upgrade to a enhanced. So the enhanced risk was moved from here to here. I'm assuming that's a 10 sig 1. So, yep, 10 sig 1. There you go. So we do have a 10 sig 1 tour in Minnesota. 10 sig 1 tour. A few tornadoes, 1 or 2 strong, maybe even a intense tornado. I'm about to miss my ending time, so I may be back later on tonight to cover this. Stay safe, watch the severe weather. See you in the next one. Goodbye. stay safe, watch the severe weather. Thank you, mods, for modded chat, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream or video that I may do, which I have no idea when it will be. See you in the next one. Goodbye.